9 of the fantasy football season. Here's the top 12 kickers I'm ranking this week. Number 1, Justin Tucker of the Baltimore Ravens. This Raven team, they've been putting up a lot of points of late. And Justin Tucker, he's been getting better kicking from 40-plus yards. It's Justin Tucker. So this week, a matchup versus Denver, a bend but don't break defense at times. Even though, like I said, Baltimore, I believe, is going to put points on the board early and often. I think Justin Tucker goes out there, has a good performance. Number 2, Austin Seibert of the Washington Commanders. So this season, he's been a great kicker for this Commander team. He didn't start the year on the roster. Then week 2, he came in. He had a bunch of field goals. First matchup at the Giants in week 2, 22 fantasy points with Seibert. And ever since then, he hasn't looked back. All double-digit fantasy point games for Seibert besides one. So this New York Giant defense isn't good. I think Seibert and the Commanders, once again, they're going to get in field goal range a lot. And they've scored over 50% of the possessions this season is this Commander team. So once again, I believe they'll be in position early and often at the New York Giants. And Seibert will possibly have another double-digit fantasy day. Number 3, Brandon Aubrey of the Dallas Cowboys. Aubrey, we know he's got an unlimited boot, 65 yards he could kick it up to is Aubrey. And this week, it's a great matchup with the Atlanta Falcons where it's an indoor game. And like I said, Aubrey outdoors, we see him have big ball games. Imagine indoors if he gets opportunities in this one. So Brandon Aubrey and this Cowboy team, they're struggling mightily. But this has a potential to be a shootout between these two teams. So this week, I think Aubrey, after last week, he didn't do much, could bounce back and have a good ball game. Number 4, Younghoe Koo, staying in the same game of the Atlanta Falcons. So Younghoe Koo, a way better kicker at home than he's been on the road throughout his NFL career. And this season, 2-game tying field goal to go to overtime versus Tampa Bay early in the season, and a game-winning field goal as well. So this week versus the Dallas Cowboy team that can't stop anybody. I think Younghoe Koo goes out there and he has a good ball game. 5, Ka'imi Fairbairn of the Houston Texans. So this Texan offense missing another big piece. Stephon Diggs out for the season. Nico Collins out once again this week, returning next week. And this New York Jet defense, they're bend but don't break unit at times, where field goal kickers have had success versus New York Jet defense. Ka'imi Fairbairn, one of the best long-range kickers as well in the NFL. I know MetLife Stadium at nighttime, those winds are really howling and blowing, but Fairbairn's been a good kicker all season long, and he's on still a pretty high-powered offense, even though, like I said, all the injuries they're dealing with. Number 6, Cameron Dicker of the Los Angeles Chargers. So this week, a matchup at Cleveland where they give up a bunch of points. And Dicker, one of the more accurate kickers in all of NFL history. And this season, it's been a great year for him. I know last week was a down week for Dicker, but this week at Cleveland, I think it's going to be a ball game where it's going to be a grinded-out type of performance, where Cleveland now can move the football a little bit with Jameis Winston in their quarterback compared to, obviously, Deshaun Watson. So I think Dicker will get a few opportunities in this ball game, and he's a top option. Again, number 7, Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs. So long field goal attempts have been few and far between over the last 2-3 weeks here for Harrison Butker. So this week, a decent matchup versus Tampa Bay. But this defense gives up a lot of touchdowns as this Tampa Bay Buck team, where they got one of the worst secondaries in all pro football. And I think this week, Harrison Butker, once again, many opportunities might not be there, where it's a lot of extra points and a lot of chip shots. Number 8, Jake Elliott of the Philadelphia Eagles. So Jake Elliott, the last couple weeks, he's starting to get it going and put up fantasy points. And A.J. Brown and Smith have returned to the lineup. They're getting more opportunities as this Philadelphia Eagle team. They're one of the more high-powered offenses in all pro football. And this Jacksonville Jaguar team, they give up a boatload of points all season long. So I think Jake Elliott could go out there once again this week and have a good performance with Philadelphia back home after that blowout victory last week at Cincinnati. Number 9, Will Renchard of the Minnesota Vikings. So Renchard, he's been perfect at home kicking the football, and a lot of double-digit fantasy games for him as well this season. But last week, only 7 fantasy points. This week, a good matchup versus the Indianapolis Colts, where a lot of touchdowns teams have scored versus defense. And this Minnesota Viking team as well, they're getting a little bit healthier with TJ Hawkinson possibly returning to the lineup this week. So Will Renchard, like I said, been perfect all season long. Indoor game, which is always a plus. And this week, once again, I believe he's a good option. Number 10, Chase McLaughlin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the Bucs, if they want to pull off this major upset at the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs, you know they're going to have to try some long field goals in this one at Arrowhead. And Chase McLaughlin has been a good long-distance kicker all season long, and he's been an accurate kicker for this Tampa Bay Buc team. So like I said, the Bucs are without Evans and Chris Godwin. They got some rookies in. They got younger players in there at the receiver position. Cade Otton at tight end as well, and White and Irvin in the backfield. So like I said, if they want to put points on the board and try to keep up McLaughlin might have to be trotted out there for some long kicks. 11, Jake Bates of the Detroit Lions. So this line offense, I think, is the best offense in all pro football. Last week, putting up 52 points. A few weeks ago versus the Dallas Cowboys in Week 6, 47 points. And they're just putting a lot of points on the board. And opportunities are there week in and week out with Jake Bates. I know he hasn't really reached double-digit fantasy points this season because they're scoring a whole lot of touchdowns. But when you're just playing a great offense like Detroit, opportunities will be there. Even if you get an extra point, still the floor won't be that low in the 12th and final kicker on rankings. Evan McPherson of the Cincinnati Bengals. Evan McPherson, the last few weeks, the numbers have gone down. Not many field goal opportunities. He's missed some field goals as well over the last few weeks as Evan McPherson. But this week, a good matchup with the Vegas Raiders coming to town. Give up the 5th most fantasy points to kickers on the season. And Evan McPherson, we know, has a good boot. Good kicker from 50-plus yards. And this week versus Vegas, hopefully more chances are there for him. And he bounces back. So that's the top 12 kickers I'm ranking for Week 9 of the fantasy football season.